Hi there, magical, wonderful, sexy people. This is Mihai from Romania, and we are going to talk in our 11th episode about the spirit which was conjured in our last videos, namely Barkan or Barakon, and he seems to appear in more than one manuscript. In fact, he seems to be very popular. The manuscript we are going to translate today will be the CLM, the Codex Latinus Monacensis manuscript number 849, namely the Munich Handbook. Now, perhaps you will agree with me, perhaps not, but it's my personal opinion that Richard Kiekhaefer's book, Forbidden Rites, Necromancer's Manual to the 15th century, is one of the most important books on the academic study of magic, and he did us a wonderful service by transliterating it and translating most of it. Now, the entire manuscript is transliterated in this book in Latin, but it's not translated entirely. There are some portions that are translated, and there are some portions that are just alluded to, and they are just treated with in some of the chapters. And this is one example, because number 15 in this edition of the manuscript is to obtain a flying throne. And this is the experiment we are going to translate. It is untranslated in Richard Kiekhaefer's book, and that is what I'm going to do in this episode. In the next episode, we are going to talk about the circle and the characters, because I cannot do one single episode because my premiere will crash. Thank you very much.
The exact manuscript pages, as well as my translation and notes. However, a full PDF of this, along with my commentary and graphics, will be available on Patreon for my subscribers. Go to a secret and high place on calm weather without wind, and say, Sancta Maria, ora pro nobis, secundum magnam misericordiam, with gloria patri entirely, in manus tuas, Domine, commendo spiritum, et totum spiritum et corpus meum, Domine Deus Pater omnipotens, et judica me. These are all portions of psalms or prayers or doxologies. The first is a verse from Ave Maria, perhaps meant to indicate a whole prayer. The second is Miserere mei Deus secundum magnam misericordiam tuam, which is Psalm 50 from the Vulgate. 3 is unidentified by Kiekhaefer and is Gloria Patri in the Lesser Doxology. The fourth is from Luke 24:46. 5 is yet unidentified by Kiekhaefer, but is Domine Deus Rex Coelestis, Deus Pater Omnipotens, also a part of the Greater Doxology. 6 is Judica me, Psalm 42 of the Vulgate. Then make that certain circle that is described below with jars, and put in the northern jar ash and flour, and in the eastern one fire and salt, and in the western one water and lime. And place yourself in the middle of the circle, and turn towards the north, and call upon the king of the clouds, called Bartha, which will send 3 of his dukes that have power over the clouds and the winds, that is Saltim, Baltim, and Gehim, that will carry you without any harm and without any danger to your body or soul to the place where you will desire. Then shall appear to you a small cloud, and from the 3 jars shall come out other jars, saying, Climb up, climb up, climb up. Then therefore arm yourself with daring, without fear, in the master's chair, and say this 3 times. Then you shall see a throne in the midst of the cloud, and you shall climb it, and say, King Bartha, and Dukes Saltim, Baltim, and Galtim, bear me appeasingly without any fear and hindrance and danger to my body and soul to such and such place, and gently lift me and gently lower me. O thou King Bartha, O thou Princes Saltim, Baltim, and Galtira, I more forcefully invoke and call upon thee, and quicker take me to such and such place without fright and danger to my body and soul. And I at once invoke thee and conjure thee more strongly by the names of the most high angels that are powerful in the air. Mastiesel, Emedel, Emethel, Sangel, Eimeal, Venoel, Garbon, Seutan, Tirobai, Tenein, Teregei, Gerebon, Gamelorum, Tubairum, Thicari, Gisai, Austeron, Boreal, Gemeloi, Garoen, Cipro, Ebeli, Aurora, Subseloi, Siego, Aphonei, et Zephyrim, Boreoth, Beoltorai, Aphorax, Aquelio, Eureal, Phawelion. By these names I invoke and conjure and exorcise and constrain thee, that thou shalt come to me in this place without delay, and carry me most gently and kindly, and take me to such and such place without fight, harm, and danger to my body and soul. So shall it be, shall it be. Amen. Go untroubled and be not afraid, for they shall carry you where you will want. If by any chance you wish to have companions on the way and in the operation, you must be odd in number, however more. Say these names that are Semegibetalie, Sabolai, Saroten, Saramei, Kerbeli, Piaurax, and so you will be able to go every part and land in safety wherever you want. If any force would want to attempt to harm you, you will feel the throne descend from the north part. Say, O Baltim, I invoke, conjure, and constrain thee, that thou might avenge me from this that has tried to harm me, by these 7 names that have power in all things, that be Flegeli, Stigeloi, Melion, Babaya, Regale, Sedgaboi, Guit Pabei, that at once shall come upon them storms and let them fear. If indeed from the part of the west might come something try to harm you, say boldly, O Saltim, I conjure and constrain thee by the 7 names, that be Sebegiol, Sebeli, Serbaton, Timeli, Gerotal, Tiboel, Galtim. Let there be rain and clouds upon them, such as they will not be able to see the cloud. If indeed from the part of the east something might tempt you, say, Come ye Galtim and Baltim, by these names, that be Flegeli, Stigeloi, Melion, Barbaya, so that they that tempt me might not hear any more. If indeed on your way you will see storms, or serpents, or birds, or other terrible things that you might fear, say, O thou King Bartham, I invoke and conjure and constrain thee, wise and powerful King, by these names that be Alrogen, Seguerateto, Spitalote, Frigonai, Gebelsei, that you might remove at once these frightful faces from before me. Having said these words, they will depart without delay, and you shall have no hindrance from then on. The circle that must be made in this working, etc. The main king of this experiment is called King of the Clouds, a wise and strong king, Bartha, or Bartham, and his direction is north. His ministers have similar names and variations. Each has his direction, and each corresponds to a jar filled with symbolic materia magica, placed in one of the corners of the triangle. Baltim, the Duke of the North, his jar contains ash and flour. Saltim, the Duke of the West, his jar contains water and quicklime. Galtim, or Galtim, Gehim, or Galtira, the Duke of the East, and his jar contains fire and salt. The angels that are powerful in the air mentioned in the conjuration are unknown to me, but an interesting feature is that towards the end we get names strikingly similar to the names of certain winds in Greek and Latin tradition. Number 17, Austeron, is Auster, the south wind. Boreal is Boreas, the north wind. Cipro is Cyprus, the south wind. Aurora would be Euros, the southeast wind. Subseloi would be Subselanus, the east wind. Aphone could be Africus, a bit of a stretch, I do admit. Zephyrim would be Zephyrus, the west wind. Boreoth would be again Boreas. Aphorax would be Africus. Aquelio would be Aquilo, the northeast wind. Eureal would be Eurius again, the southeast wind. And Phawelion would be Favonius, the west wind. The names of power that are used for the companions are foreign and different, as well as the names used to compel Bartham. but it's worth mentioning that the names that compel the 7 dukes are 7 for each direction, all different, except for north and east, that are virtually identical. Phlegelis, Tigeloi, Melion are identical, Barbaya and Babaya. This is the circle that is described in this experiment. Richard Kiekhaefer describes it fairly well, but when it comes to the characters, he simply dismisses them as pseudo-Hebrew, which I must respectfully disagree. The grand circle has a large triangle scribed within it.
People, thank you so much for your attention, and of course I need to thank my Patreons, which I have here in this scroll. Thank you so much to my Metatrons, which are Adley Nichols and Erzsébet. Thank you to my Mecenas, which are Alex, Dr. Alexander Cummins, Arias, Bell Wood, David Mackey, Glitch Bottle Podcast, Joe, Dr. Justin Sledge of Esoterica, hi there, M. Alcock, Mark Williamson, Netop Avis, Peter DeMauro, Stian Kulistin, Annalise Antoinette, the regular patrons, Annalise Antoinette, Damian Gordon, Hamad, and Zachary Murray. Thank you so much, you wonderful people, and if you want to join this list, please join me on Patreon, where I put out a special restricted article every Sunday, and where I upload every 10th episode, a secret episode strictly for Patreon. Thank you so much for joining me this time, and next week we will find out about the characters of King Bartham. Until then, have a great week.